Hello, we're live. Today is Wednesday, the 14th of October, the year of our Lord 2020. Our Lord is involved because we're alive. Now, listeners, good evening. I am going backwards to come forwards all of a sudden because so many things have happened in the week since I saw you on Wednesday, and we're on today. We thank God. The thought for the week today is, when you are going through hell, keep going. Keep moving. If you are moving, you are a moving target. Things will happen, but you will overcome them. Just keep moving, and that will be good for you. Today, I will introduce to you an amazing woman. My amazing woman is only 29 years old. The difference between her and me is a whole century. Trust me. However, Zarina holds an MSc in Media, Communication and Development. What do you say? Pending graduation in December 2020. Well, yes. From LSE, London School of Economics. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies from the Ghana Institute of Journalism. She has academic interest and professional experience in media and communications. Now, she is a research associate at Mohe and Partners, an IT and education firm which provides educational content online to basic and high school students in Ghana. It's on Facebook. It's called Seek Support.
Yeah.
And Seek Support is one of the engines like Google or any other engine that you may use. And it gives you information about education. It gives you advice. It even advises parents and students. So Seek Support is an engine that if you don't know about it, I think you should seek it, and you will have a lot of apport on it. Now, Zarina is well, what is apport? Apport is information, isn't it?
Yeah. Information. Also, seek apport means seek
Zarina,
information.
Seek information. Zarina is a gender and development advocate and she has actively promoted the interests of women and girls in Ghana for the past 8 years through development, communication, humanitarian outreach programs. Now that is very interesting. Welcome to the show. There's a lot more to say about you, but I think we will deal with it as we go on. Otherwise, it will be me doing a monologue talking about you, and the hour will finish. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It is you.
I'm excited to be here.
No. I'm more excited because it is you, people like you, that I want to come on my show. I want girls, women, females who are busy doing something, who want to help their community, the world, whatever you're doing, to make something of our lives and to stand up for our lives. Now, Zarina.
Hi.
I want to ask you one interesting question, which is, when you talk about gender and development, what does it mean?
That's a really interesting question because one is like a subset of the other. So gender in itself as an element, then we talk about issues concerning women and girls. So when I say gender, I'm mostly talking about my advocacy on issues that are of interest to women and girls. And development also is a bit broad, so that entails all of the issues that promote the growth and that has positive impacts on us as a country and or as a nation. And particularly when I'm talking, I refer to it in the Ghanaian context. So gender, I have interest in promoting the interests of women and girls, if I can put it that way. So advocating, speaking up, and trying to find ways that would inure to the benefit of women and girls, and also help to promote interventions that would promote the interests of women and girls. And development, I'm a passionate Ghanaian who wants to see my nation move forward. And if we promote gender issues, if we promote women's issues, we are definitely promoting development in the country. So they are like one is, like I said, one is a subset of the other. They're not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand, I must say.
Excellent. I like that, because that is, I always look for that. That is what I look for in life, in work, in everything. You know, gender is very important, and it's strange how gender is undermined when it comes to the female. You know, it is not looked at as something that is valuable, and yet women bring out the children, women teach the children, women are talking to children, women, you know, the same man who complains about how women should be quiet, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, shouldn't do that, complains that you haven't brought up your child well if the child does something wrong. That same mouse is complaining bitterly when really you are not giving her credit for what she's doing. It's a thankless job.
Definitely. And it's like we leave issues of women's advocacy and promoting the interests of women for women to fight for. And that is one of the major problems that affects gender rights and advocacy. Because if men leave these conversations to only women to have, then it's going to lead to a situation where we are not heard. And so all of these things start from how children are raised, for example. I've always had an issue with leadership, for example, in junior high schools or primary schools in Ghana, and where the boy will be the school prefect and the girl will be the girls prefect. And I'm like, so right from there, you are teaching girls that they can only lead girls, and then you are teaching boys that they can lead everyone else. And that's the problem. So we have a conversation about how we have very few women in parliament, very few women in governance and leadership in the country, and this is how it starts. So if we do not educate people and our systems are put in place in such that we do not empower women, we do not let them understand that they have a stake in whatever that's going on, and we leave the fight for women to be the one to spearhead, and that's a major problem. And so like you said, so men recognize women's role when things go wrong, but they do not look at how they should be giving women an opportunity to contribute in discourse, in leadership, in all fields and sectors. And that is really problematic. And I think that is something that we need to start having conversations around. And well, to be fair, I wouldn't to say we should start having conversations around. I think we've had conversations around that for so long, but we need more men to contribute to the conversation and act.
In what way, though? You want men to contribute in a conversation for women? I don't understand that.
So I want men to recognize that if we are encouraging women to contribute to our economy, if we are encouraging women to contribute in politics, if we are encouraging women to contribute in all sectors, and we know that, for example, the Ghanaian economy largely in the informal sector is driven by women. So if we are doing all of that, and unfortunately, if parliament is made up of a huge number of men with few women, how can men contribute? We need men to be able to bring up some of these issues in parliament. We need men to recognize that if we are talking about the affirmative action bill, which we have been talking about for so many years and wanting to push, we need them to make sure that it is something that is on the table, that they have discussions on that. We need men to recognize that women are being raped, men to recognize that sexual reproductive health issues are important. And these are the men in parliament. These are the men making the decisions. It's unfortunate that they make majority of parliament, but then that is how they can contribute. And even in the home, if a man only treats his wife in a certain way, if a man positions his wife to only worship him, if a man does not listen to his wife, if he doesn't listen to his daughters, that is also going to make the for example, girls grow up feeling like I have to be submissive. I know the word submissive can be controversial in itself when it comes to this conversation, but girls feel like I have to be the one listening and not contributing. It makes boys feel like I have to be the one giving the orders. So right from governance to to the home, there are so many different ways in which men can contribute to promoting women's issues. So we as women and gender advocates and feminists can talk as much as we can, and but if men do not recognize that they have to be part of that conversation, it might lead nowhere, I must say. And I know that this government had this, I think it was a campaign where they said he for she campaign, where they were trying to encourage men's participation. I think that yes, women can do it, women can push for their own issues, but then society is not only led for women. We, of course, we are slightly more than half of the country's population, especially in Ghana, but we should be able to drive a lot more engagement and a lot more interest when it comes to policy, and also push for people to formulate and implement policies that would be in the benefit of women. Because I think that we have to engage men largely, and men we don't always have to remind them. They should know that women are part of this same society, and if we are having discussions, we should recognize that we're not just having it for one part of society, but for all members of society.
Wow. I am so blown away, because you said a lot of things packed in one, kind of a sentence or paragraph, and it has all the points there. The whole affirmative action, the whole men respecting women and listening to their advice. A lot of people say, though, that men who listen to their wives, or men who listen to their boys who listen to their mothers, they are the ones who get on in life. A woman has all sorts of qualities that is necessary. For if you love your wife, mother, sister, you will get ahead if you listen carefully. And these are the things. Women are, as they always say, I don't know if it is a joke or what, but it is true that alone controls, Makala is really the financial hub of the whole of Ghana. And yet, all of this is happening, and yet women are still the second class or near to the bottom. Why?
I mean, the why question, I think that's a big question, and it's rooted in a lot of things. It's rooted in our history. It's rooted in the whole patriarchal values that our societies are built on, and it's also rooted in, because personally, I did not grow up to meet my grandfather, but there's something that I really always think about when I think of him, because I know my grandfather has 7 children, and he educated both girls and boys. And I think about it, and I'm like, for a man who was in northern Ghana for like so many years ago, it's not very common for him to educate his daughters as well. And that's a question that really lingers in my mind, that sometimes I think about. But like, as the why question, I think it's something we really need to look into. But patriarchal systems, I think fundamentally that's a problem, and patriarchy is a problem, and we need to be able to crack that down, And I mean, thankfully we have a lot more women being taken to school, but that is still not as much as it should be. I know that when I was growing up, there was a massive campaign like send your girl child to school, and it was one thing that really fundamentally identified a problem with girls' education that it sought to address at the time. And that campaign, I thought, did a lot. It really did a lot at encouraging people to take girls to school, but still, if you're looking at the rates of boys and girls who are educated, a lot more boys are taken to school than girls, and a lot more boys stay in school than girls. So then when girls drop out of school, especially when it comes to issues of, and all of these issues are interlinked. So if girls are not given educations on, for example, their reproductive health, they are likely to get pregnant in basic school and drop out of school if you do not give them the right information that they need. And we've had cases of girls who are probably made not to write their exam because they were pregnant. And these are issues that we need to address on different levels. So from health to education to
let me stop you.
All of that.
Let me stop you there. So that I don't, you know, when you talk about so girls need education to do certain things like reproductive health, sexual health, and all of these things. And in regards to education, I am of the mind, but you know, this is me. I am of the mind that sometimes we cannot give all the power and say a man needs to help and join in the conversation. I am of the mind that women should take their control. They should, you know, with as time is going on, giving it to men to, you know, help the woman it's past. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for so many years that for me, I think that fine, as a parent, the father should understand that he should educate his girl child. But then from there on, other women are there continually. I mean, I can tell you that, you know, in my life, and I have had quite an interesting life, I have realized that when a woman genuinely helps you, you will go far. You will go far. When a woman gives another woman advice, you will go far. I have good friends and bad friends. And my good friends, when they tell me something, look my eye and tell me something, it really helps me. In the same way that I help somebody, you don't even have to be my friend. I just want women to move. And without, I don't want payment. I do not want friendship. It's just that this is somebody who I think, and therefore, this is what we all need to do, though. We forget the men. The men are there. We need them for certain things. But it comes a time when we have to decide at which point do we help ourselves and help other women. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I absolutely get you. And even this part of the conversation where I'm talking about educating girls, I have moved beyond the conversation of what men should be doing, because I think I have established that enough. And I was raised by a woman. Right from the beginning of my life, I didn't really have a strong father figure, if I should say. So I was raised totally by a woman. And the reason why I keep talking about girls' education and why I am passionate about that is because of my position where I am and my passion to educate other girls. And the way I feel about it is that if I educate another girl the same way she would be passionate about educating another girl, and then it ripples down that way. So the more I put myself in the position to help other girls, the more they would also find a responsibility to educate another girl, and then it goes that way. So I totally agree with you. I think the best forms of advice and support I have gotten from my life has been from women. And that in itself shows you how powerful women are and how much we can push one another. And I really do admire women who exert their power in so many different ways, because the truth is we do not need permission from men to be human. We do not need permission from men who we are, and it is our right to live. It's our right. It's a shared humanity. The country, for example, like I said, I'll be referring to where I'm from, which is Ghana. So the country is for both of us. We do not need permission from them to breathe. And I totally believe in the rights of women in a way that would promote the rights of other women. And that is what, and which is why I am not a fan of the women are their own enemies saying that is really thrown about, because I'm like, a lot of men kill men, a lot of men hurt men. So why is it easy for you to sit and say women are their own enemies? Why don't we highlight the women who celebrate other women, the women who put crowns on the heads of other women? Why don't you celebrate the women who hold the hands of other women and other girls and raise them up? Because I know that I have been a beneficiary of that, and I know that I want to empower other girls. I want to hold the hands of other people, and I am grateful to all the people who have guided me. So I don't think I want to hinge and linger on the women are their own enemies saying, because for years men have been their own enemies and no one has highlighted that. And I think it's something that pushes us back. So we probably should think twice before saying that all the time.
Okay, I agree with you there, but I think women are their own enemy is something that was coined by a very foolish man. But however foolish a man is, they say things and then it sticks. So we will one day move away from that because women are not their enemies. And if people like you and I and other people start to say that, well, a woman helped me, a woman looked after me, there are a lot of single women out there who look after their sons to become doctors, lawyers, and all sorts of people, presidents, prime ministers, the lot. Women, so we cannot continually keep saying women are their own enemies when most of the time a woman holds another woman's hand to do something. You are grieving, you're crying, you're etc., etc. There's always a friend, a good friend, and all of that. So that now the topic of today was adulting. Adulting is our topic. And so we need to know, first of all, what is the meaning of adulting in uncertain times? Because, we're in COVID and you are adulting because you are, and people, I keep repeating it, she is 29 years old. And we've had a conversation like two 45-year-olds right now. So, tell me.
So adulting, so the term adulting itself, I'm sure if you look into old dictionaries, you wouldn't find the word adulting in the dictionary. So the word adulting in itself is like an informal word, which is usually used to engage or to define a situation where someone has responsibilities of an adult or is engaging in activities that are often associated with adulthood. And so the word, it's more like a word used by millennials or young people in these days. And adulting in uncertain times is definitely COVID. It's a fundamental description or a definition of a time that we would describe as an uncertain time. So, which is why I think it's fundamental to have this conversation, because if we're talking about adulting and we say that adulting talks about a situation where you look at young people who is beginning to have the responsibilities of an adult. So the key question here is, who is an adult? And I think that's what we should be talking about. And basically, we describe an adult as someone who is fully grown or developed or someone who is mature. But the real question is, at what point are you considered to be an adult? And I want to briefly talk about this in the Ghanaian context. And for me, as a young Ghanaian, I know that for a long time I was not considered to be an adult. And if at 29 I'm still talking about the process of adulting, it says much about that. So you are not seen to be fully grown, especially if you do not. Maybe you're not married. I think a lot of people use that marriage bit to define or describe people when they get married, and like, okay, so you're grown enough at this point in time. And I think so a lot of people are treated like children for the longest time. And what this does is that it affects young people largely in breaking barriers, in achieving their potential. Because for so long, if we in Ghana, like a 30 or 29, 30-year-old is still being treated as a child, so there are certain things that you cannot do because you're still seeing that you're not grown enough to do that. Which is why I think, this is a personal opinion, I think that sometimes young people in the West are able to explore more and achieve more at very early ages than some of us in Ghana. Because if as 25, a young person can have a good job and can even own a home in other places, and in Ghana you're still living at your parents' house and you're not even allowed to move out, that in itself tells much about how adulting or the process of being seen as an adult delays when you are in our part of the world. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but it's just to say that we have a different understanding of what adulthood is. And so now in this period, the COVID-19 period, it's sort of twisted the process of adulthood, and it's come up with peculiar challenges in itself. So it's not just about having the normal struggles of, trying to, think about how you can find a job, and it's twisted everything all around. So you're thinking about how you can find a job during the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic, at a period where even the world's leaders are not sure what's going to happen next, and they're not sure how to handle the situation. They're not sure if jobs are still going to be there, if they're not sure about how to deal with their economies, and that it's even more challenging during this period. So I think adulting, basically, in uncertain times, it's about, you're growing up at this point and you have the normal challenges of adulting, and now you have a situation where you have a pandemic and everything is upside down and you're not sure which way you're going. It can be a bit difficult to navigate.
Okay. So we've got to the whole adulting, and then we've got to the society, the disparities, the differences between adulting in the UK, for example, or in the Western world, basically in America, etc., and adulting in Ghana. Now, two things. Okay. When you are in Ghana, you go to university, let's say, or some adult, training college or whatever. So you leave home. Some people go to secondary school at 11, 10, 12. So you've left, you've gone away, you keep coming home, and then you come back home because you haven't got a job. Now, here in the Western world, when you finish your education, sometimes you even have a job to go to before you actually do your exams or immediately after. So that is the difference. Now, with COVID, that in our midst, you don't have a job because people are losing their jobs. And so it's the same situation where you are adulting or wanting to adult, and yet you have to go back home. Now, when you are at home, how does the adulting then play? Because you are forced to go back home, even in the Western world. There are adults who either they haven't got jobs, or just before they would take off, this COVID occurred and they are at home. What happens then? How are you dealing with it?
Okay, so I think it's even great, if I can say, if you have a home to go to, and for someone who lives with their parents who still hopefully have their jobs and can support them, is one thing. And another thing is, if you have moved out already and you have to live by yourself and take care of yourself, then that's another challenge. And so I think that it depends really on the family setting. It depends on your economic situation. And also, let's bear in mind that this has had a mental toll on people, anxiety issues, mental health, depression. And so you may even have economic support, but then how your mental health can be so deteriorated, or you can be having so many different challenges that you may not have support for. Bear in mind also that in Ghana, for example, we tend to undermine mental health issues. We tend to think that it is normal we don't even think it's normal. I think we don't even pay attention to it, to be honest. We don't really talk, and we don't even talk about it. And that's one major challenge. So you can be at home, you can be at home without a job and probably planning, but then the depression in itself can be problematic. And it also goes down to how you are treated if you're at home. Would your parents, for example, always remind you that you probably are eating much more than you should be, and are you job searching, are you doing this, and always begging you questions. And that's one big thing, compared to, would they be as supportive, would they be as understanding, and just understand that you are going through a phase, so let them go through that phase and just be as supportive as we can be. Because the problem where we grow up is that sometimes in the Ghanaian setting, there's this concept of tough love, which is not always helpful. I know that it's still love, but it's not always helpful, because you find that people, they love you, but then it's not in the way that they should express it. Like, oh, you want to eat, okay, if you eat, be there, things like that. Just so sometimes you're concerned about whether the person has eaten or not, but the way you present it, it's not helpful sometimes. So even
it's demoralizing.
Absolutely.
It's demoralizing when you are at home with your parents and all of that. Okay. Now, one of the things which also I wondered about is if during this COVID, whilst we're still in the middle of COVID, you are trying to adult and you are in a relationship, or you're not in a relationship, how then will you meet someone? Are you guys then gonna wait, because you're with your parents, by the way? So are you gonna wait until the COVID is over and then you're gonna go out and try and meet someone? Or what do people do?
Yeah, well, I think that this is one of the easiest like I almost said easiest problems to solve, because I found that a lot of people do online stuff these days, and so online dating is big. If you the online dating space has really become big, and there are so many different online dating apps, and people do meet people online, and online dates, some of them would tell you that do you want to do socially distanced dates? So it means that you are working with someone, you can meet someone on a date, but you maintain a 2-meter distance. Or do you want to do a video? Yeah, it's like it's all there. Or do you want to have a video chat, because they have those functions as well? Or do you just want to make a call? And sometimes in your profile you have to state all of those things there and what your preferences would be. So I find that when it comes to meeting people, it's a bit easier. And but also it depends on people taking risks. To be honest, I've also realized that a lot of young people are just tired of staying indoors, that they just decide to meet people, which is dangerous, which isn't safe, but people still take risks and go out and meet people and hang out and those kind of stuff. So when it comes to relationships, I think it's easier, considering that technology has made things a lot more accessible and has been innovative enough to create avenues for people to interact and just fill the gaps when it comes to relationships and just meeting people and engaging in conversations.
Wow. So the relationship part is not that tough. Okay, now, what about completing your education during COVID and employment prospects during this global pandemic? For example, you are just at the point of having your exams and you're just about to finish and go. What then?
Yeah, so this has been challenging. So completing, for example, finishing a degree during a pandemic has been nothing but challenging. And undeniably, education globally or worldwide has been impacted, and it's not peculiar to me. And I feel like it depends on where in the world you are and the level of where in your educational ladder, if I can say, you are, because I feel like people in tertiary institutions may face similar challenges, but they may handle it better compared to people in high school. And personally, my challenges has been with being productive and focusing. And you have assignment deadlines, and you have to focus on the deadlines, submit. And during COVID-19, it's like you can hardly focus, especially during the period of the lockdown when everyone was home. So it appears that you have a lot of time, but you really don't have time. And it was really hard. And so you just have to come up with coping mechanisms. I know that I had a group of friends where we would just come online, would have Zoom meetings and just talk about how everything was just challenging, and we'll spend 2 hours just complaining and listening and hopefully getting to laugh and stuff like that. And as soon as the call is over, like, you're back to darkness, and it was really challenging and having to meet deadlines. And thankfully, I had a bit of extensions. I think educational institutions also recognize that students may be facing some challenges, so they give you some deadline, extensions on your deadlines. But I also recognize that how I coped with it and how the support I got was slightly different from my friends in Ghana. And so I just finished my LSE degree, and I find that the university gave me a lot more support in terms of who to talk to in terms of making some lecture notes or lecture materials available for me. And I had internet. I had unlimited internet, but my friends in Ghana would complain about you buy data, and then in the middle of the lecture, the data runs out, and even the internet is not very stable. And it just made me understand that even though every country has its challenges and different schools are finding innovative ways to deal with it, there's also this disparity and this unfortunate situations in other parts of the world who are not fortunate enough to have access to some technologies or resources to enable their students work as efficiently and easily. So I can imagine that even though I had those challenges, my colleagues in places like Ghana may have had extra challenges. And so yes, I find that, and it was challenging, especially completing a dissertation, and that was also challenging. My dissertation was on sexual harassment on digital platforms. So I was looking at how women who are victims of revenge pornography or people who had their images on social media were protected by these platforms. And to an extent, my dissertation was affected because people are struggling with COVID, and if they've had a history of sexual harassment or whatsoever, it's another burden for them to talk about it. And it was a bit challenging, but thankfully was able to pull that through.
Well done. Well done, Zarina. I am so impressed with the way that you are so articulate. You say everything. You and how hard you work. I want us to talk about the your charity where you go into schools in the Zongo and help them. Do you want to give us a short
okay,
something short about what exactly it is that you do? Are you the chairman of that?
No,
the
so
general secretary or something?
It was started by my friend. Her name is Bilkis,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
she contacted me about this idea she had, and then we joined together and shared ideas. But I'm actually not the founder. I am. Let me call myself a member because I'm an active member. But I haven't been active since I left Ghana, to be honest, because we go to school. So it is called Muslima Mentorship Network, and what we go to schools in Muslim communities, typically called Zongo communities. And then we go and then we try to talk to them about issues concerning early marriage, concerning their education, concerning sexual abuse and harassment, and how they should contact and what they should do. And it's because we fundamentally recognize a problem with education when it comes to Ghana's Zongo communities, and specifically girls' education, and how that is not prioritized. And a lot of the times we find that a lot of these girls are probably not very confident to speak, even if they are in school, or they have ambitions, but because they do not really readily see people who are in positions that they aspire to be, they feel like they cannot be there. So as young people, especially young Muslim women, we find that even if we have not gotten to where we want to be, we can be good examples for them to aspire to be like. And I was particularly excited, for example, when I went to one of the schools, and the girl was so happy because she heard that I had gone to GIJ, and she says she wants to be a journalist, and all of the things and she also mentioned her fears, and I found it as a personal responsibility to encourage her that if I have been able to get there, you can get there. And I tried as much as possible to make it as exciting for her to be more excited about, so that she can try as much as possible to work hard to get there. So it's basically what we do. And we also, last year, we engaged on a huge campaign, which was like to provide sanitary pads for girls in Ghana's deprived areas. So that was not just limited to Muslim or Zogo communities, because we find that sanitary pads are really not accessible, and girls, so research has shown that a lot of girls miss at least 5 days from school when they're in their periods in some parts of the country, because they do not have access to sanitary pads, and they cannot go to school. They'd rather stay at home, and after their period, they go back So, and then if you counting every 5 days of every term, it means that they would have lost a lot of time off school, and that affects their education largely. And unfortunately, we have a lot of taxes on sanitary pads also, and so some girls are just unable to afford sanitary pads. So what we did was that we came up with a campaign where we would try and raise funds and then buy sanitary pads for them. And yeah, so that's we try and just recently, International Day of the Girl, we had a Zoom meeting event where we had speakers like Shamima Muslim and Muslim women in Ghana who are like people that inspire all of us, including other Muslim girls. So we just had conversations about being able to encourage girls in our community to aspire to be what they want to be, and that was also successful.
Excellent. I'm glad you talked about it. I want people to know about this that you do. What is it called again? Muslim Girls
Muslima Mentorship Network. So Muslima means like a female Muslim. So we just use the word Muslima Mentorship Network. So it's basically to mentor girls in Muslim communities.
Okay. Have you got a website or a link?
Yes, we have a website, and if you search for Muslima Mentorship Network, you would find it on online, and we are also on Facebook as Muslima Mentorship Network.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, we'll put it down on the comments below so that people can, if you're interested in helping, you can. It would be good. Every little helps to help a girl child. Yes.
Thank you.
So my other question, when we talked, we went through the mental health thing as our general issues, but mental health is something that is very important regardless. I know that in Ghana it's still overlooked. Yeah. However, people are becoming slowly mentally aware. Now, let us just hone in on mental health for like 2 minutes and talk about how you think we can do something about mental health for women, for the girl child, for your age group especially. You can just hone in on your age group in this time and beyond.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely important because a lot of us are dealing with anxiety. And I know that I used to joke with my friend. I told her that I'm sure I have gone through various phases of depression, but I just haven't been diagnosed. So I don't know I've been depressed. So I think that a lot of us go through a lot of challenges. And I think that we need to first have conversations about mental health to make people understand that it's a thing. And first it has to be about educating people about mental health, so engaging the media about mental health, because if people do not know, they will not even go and seek help. So we have to have conversations about mental health, make people understand that even from the beginning, just talk to people. I know that we say that don't share your problems with people, don't do this, don't do that, but sometimes keeping it inside you in itself can be challenging. If you cannot talk to the person next to you, just talk to a professional. But as I say, talk to a professional, then I cannot sit here and pretend that I do not know that getting access to a professional for some people might be a challenge. So first, we have to make people understand that mental health does not only include when you are on the streets naked or when you are, you've completely lost your mind. But mental health is, you and I may have mental health challenges without people knowing. And that is the problem. We have to educate people, let them understand that it is normal to speak to a practitioner, and also probably just let people know where to go to ask for help. And there are websites, and I know that there are places that you can call. I know that as a student, we had some sites where you can just call and talk to someone. You don't necessarily have to know them, but then they listen to you, and you can just talk to them and tell them your problems, and they're just there to listen, and it's just like a helpline. Also, some universities have counseling units. They have professionals, and a lot of these counseling units have professionals working in there, and you can take advantage of those units and go and talk to people, and you get very good very good advice, because not everyone can afford maybe a therapist or a professional who can help them. But just starting by talking to people, creating awareness, and just being able to use the resources close to you, like university resources, and just engage in your guidance and counseling professors at schools, because even senior high schools have guidance and counseling coordinators. I know my guidance and counseling coordinator, that was one of my favorite teachers. So I think that, and a lot of them are very kind too. They are open to talking to you, even in Ghana. So we don't let's not just think that our systems are not there to help us, but also the systems should, or the people who are there should try as much as possible to create a lot of awareness. I think World Mental Health Day was like 3 days ago, and we had a lot of people sharing stuff on social media, and I'm glad that also it's part of the awareness creation. But I think we can do more as a country, and yeah.
So when you say as a country, you mean Ghana?
As a country, Ghana is always my reference point. Like always talking about Ghana.
Yeah, Ghana. All right. One of the things is I think your Wi-Fi gets a bit weak, so we can't hear you properly. But I mean, I can hear you, and I hope that other people can. But if people can't, let us know, because I realize that sometimes your lips move not in sync with the your words, which means there's a Wi-Fi problem.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now another question that I was asking you, that in this pandemic, do you think young adults should pursue education or rather look for a job?
Wow.
Well, what do you think? Should they stop? And because education is all over the place at the moment, and for you are at the end, but for some, they are in the middle, and nobody's going to anywhere, and things are not happening.
Yeah.
What should people do?
I think people should do what works best for them, and I don't think it would be wise for me to give a blanket answer to this, because people should do what works best for them. If you find that you can afford to pay for your education, if you find that you can afford to take care of yourself while you're in school, or if you think that you can work alongside being in school, or whatever plan it is that suits your current situation, that is what you should do. And education, like the schools are always there for us to attend. If you think that you need to take a break, I think you should take a break. If you have to take a break and just rest, or take a break and work, or you just want to go to school, you can do so. I'm thankful I am on a scholarship, so I can afford to go to school if I had to. I mean, for people coming right now who are on scholarship, they can take a break and go to just focus on their school and all of that. But if you know that you can afford to just be at home and work on your mental health, or be at home and be innovative, be at home and create. If you're an artistic person, whatever works for you is what you should do. And everyone has their own journey. I think people you can be inspired by someone else, but it has to be, the solution should be tailored. And whatever it is that you think would be right for you is what you should do, because you cannot say you are just going to school when you don't have the funds, or when your family is hungry, and maybe you're the young person who is helping to take care of your family or supporting the family during this difficult period. So I would encourage young people. I mean, as part of the conversations on adulting, it's also part of decision making as part of adulting. So it's important that you think about it and make a good decision for you.
Excellent. I need people to know that in 2019, which was last year, Zarina was awarded the UK Governor's Chevening Scholarship to pursue an MSc in Media, Communications and Development at the London School of Economics, LSE, and Political Science, which she has recently completed. And so she's looking forward to advancing her career in communication and influencing national policies in the interest of women, girls, and less privileged people. Yeah. Now, does that mean that, can I just say congratulations?
Thank you.
At this young age, you have achieved quite a bit. But
Thank you.
then brings the question of, do you want to pursue politics, or how are you going to influence?
Yeah.
Help me here.
Thank you for asking this question. I think it's important to, it's a very important question, because there's this idea that if you want to influence policy, you have to be in active politics. And so politics in itself is like, I think any kind of decision that you make would influence politics. So even just being in your job in itself has a bearing on the political system. But I have no plans of being a politician, or like being a member of parliament or a minister of anything, or anything of that sort. But I am a passionate Ghanaian, and I want to do my best to contribute to the development of my country. And that what I know very well is that communication is big, media is big, and like they say, the media is a fourth estate. And if I am going to work as a communications professional or as a development professional, I can contribute to policy making. If you look at how NGOs and just development organizations work, sometimes they work with the government. And look at currently, for example, what is happening in Nigeria, which is young people on the streets advocating for an end to a system in their police service, which is hurting them and is unjust. That is the power of speaking up. That is the power of advocacy. That is the power of development work. And that is the kind of work that I want to do to influence policy. We just know that they have been on the streets, and yes, they ended SARS, and there's still another whole issue that's going on there. But I'm just trying to highlight that I want to contribute to policy making. I want to contribute to influencing decisions in my country. And I'm positive that I'm going to work in development. I'm going to work in advocacy. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to encourage other people to speak up. I'm going to use my voice. And we also know the power of the media in Ghana. Like it's big. It may not be what we want it to be, but thankfully we have a media that is able to operate without any kind of censorship. And that is where we can use to create change. So a young person like me, who wants to continue with advocating for women's issues and breaking the myths surrounding women and girls, it's about speaking up and just working in development and also negotiating. I think that lobbying, being in a position where you can lobby people who work in positions of power is part of helping to influence policy and decision making. And I find myself being in a situation where I want to be able to influence that, maybe not in active politics, but just in development works and advocacy.
Okay, now, I mean, what Zarina was talking about is, in Nigeria right now, people are against SARS. And SARS is there are two different types of police in Nigeria at the moment. And one is the normal police, and then they've got these people who keep attacking people on the streets. If you have dreadlocks, they'll arrest you. If you are holding an expensive phone, and they attack young, especially the young people. And suddenly all the young people in Nigeria have risen up and they are against it, and they are saying an end to SARS and no more. They will not stand it. And now, if you say that is the sort of passion that you have, are you saying that you're going to go on the streets and get people to do protest every day, or hello? I don't understand that.
Okay, so I'll start by saying that if I have to go on the streets, I'll go on the streets. But I hope that it doesn't get to going on the streets. I hope that we are able to negotiate for our system, for our government and our leaders to listen to us. I hope, like I mentioned, that the media is a strong and powerful tool, and just speaking up is a strong and powerful tool. And I want to be able to find myself in a situation where I can work in a development-based organization, where I can lobby, where I can negotiate, where I can speak up. For example, if we initially mentioned the affirmative action bill, where I can be able to lobby, contribute to talking about issues that would help people, encourage parliamentarians to bring these issues to the fore. But back to your question, like I said, I wouldn't hesitate to go on the street if I have to go on the street to fight for the interest of people and young people in my country. And I hope that we don't get there. I hope that we are listened to. I hope that we are heard. I hope that our systems put in place the systems that would work and help us to develop our country. I mean, protest should be the last resort, really.
I think we have exhausted the time. We could go on for hours, but we have exhausted. An hour has just flown by, and it's like 5 minutes. But in this hour, you have said a lot of things which are very important for us all to think about, especially young people. One of the things I want people to do is, this is going to come out on YouTube. And when I send out the link, send it out to other people, young people, nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, friends, children, everyone, so that they can see that here is Zarina. This is not an old person. This is not my friend coming to talk and talk down to you. This is your age group. This is somebody who has passion. She has ambition. And she is, it's brimming. It's coming out of her the way you talk. You have so much confidence. However, she does have dark days, and she has moments where, in this time of COVID, you wonder, what is going to happen? When is this going to end? Will I get the sort of job I want? Will I be able to do the things I want to do? So it's good to share, and it's good to talk. And so if you feel that way, as Zarina said, and as I am saying, and as other people will say, talk to someone. You don't have to just go into a hospital and say, I'm having dark thoughts or I'm feeling a bit, but talk to a friend, talk to your parents, talk to grandma if she's alive. I used to talk to my grandma. She was really good to me. I have friends now. All my people are dead. So now I have friends. I have 1 or 2 cousins. Everybody needs to talk to somebody, and talking always helps, And so, Zarina, I do not know how to thank you. I am in awe of you. I am now going to be your groupie, and I'm going to follow you. I'm going to watch as you go along. I'm going to be there to tell you off once in a while. But if I find anyone who's interested in you, I will put them through. I'm going to introduce you to one of my guests who came a few months ago, and she spoke. And she's also a Muslim. And she's also done so many good things for her community. And I am so in awe of her. And I want you to meet her because I can see you in the same mode. And Zarina, thank you so much for coming on the show. This show has benefited more than you will know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me an avenue to communicate and speak to people and to speak to you. And I think that it's just a way of helping me develop as well. And just like we just told people to talk, it's giving me a platform to also just talk and pour out my ambitions, pour out my feelings, pour out what I've always wanted to share with other young people. And I'm really glad that you have this platform. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a learning experience for me as well, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have mutual love, basically. So from now on, we shall keep in touch. But thank you. And people, do not forget her charity, which she deals with young girls who need sanitary pads. Young girls need sanitary pads all the time. I do not know why they are taxed in Ghana. It is a horrible thing. However, somebody has to help them. So if you want to help her, please do. I will put it in the comments down below. When it's on YouTube, I'll put it on YouTube. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it everywhere. This show will be repeated on Channel 7. It's on Sky Television 0182. So you can watch it again. Zarina, you can watch yourself. I will send the link out to everyone, the YouTube link, so that people see. People should click on my link and make comments if they want. And thank you very much. We're dead on time today. Bye bye,
Yeah.
people. Bye bye, Zarina.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank